Are we ready, Teresa? Okay.
Just in comparison.
Oh. Okay. We will go ahead and call the Perry County American Rescue Plan Advisory Committee meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. I think we can. What can we cross off of here? Or do you want to just briefly touch on everything?
Let's just briefly.
Okay.
touch on it.
All right. So we can approve. The agenda will be approved as presented. So let's move on to the second item is approval for releasing survey data to the Tell City ARP committee. Greg, do you want to kind of speak to that? If you don't
Yeah,
mind?
I got a request from the Tell City ARP committee from Kelly. She was the one that directed it. And she asked for the information, and so they are doing their own survey, and what we want to do is we just want to swap. Let's see their data, they see our data, and then what we'll do is we'll just scrub names and emails and that kind of stuff so that, we don't swap that information, but just the generic information. So I don't see any issue with it myself.
Yeah, if we
I think
can
it's a plus, to tell you the truth.
Kelly is chairing the city's ARP money.
Yeah, she's a
committee.
member of that, yes.
Do we want to? Are we just going to release just the 47586 zip code, or are we just going to give them all?
I don't mind giving them all.
Okay,
Unless there's a
I
reason
think as long
not
as you
to.
can take any like identifying information out. maybe.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. What I'll do is I'll leave the zip code so they know,
Yeah, that might be helpful.
but all the other identifying information, we'll just strip. It won't be any big deal. Is that okay with you?
Yep.
And we-
Okay.
And then I'll talk at our meeting to make sure,
You'll reciprocate?
right.
Okay. Do we want to just formally approve that with a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Got a motion from Aaron,
Second?
second by Sherry. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries 4-0.
Okay,
Great.
thank you.
Next item, discussion regarding the creation of grant programs, applications, and allowable uses. So after our meeting last Wednesday, I went home and thought about it some more, and I was like, I don't know about all the decisions that were made. Because I just, working at Indiana 15 and seeing how Oak Grove does things and seeing how the EDA, I just didn't know if we had everything together that we really needed to have together to make sure that we weren't making a mistake or doing something that we shouldn't have been doing.
Right.
So I threw out those documents to everyone, and then I thought we had some really good feedback from those. And then Tara just sent some new things over. So our application is still not ready yet. But I don't know if they really.
No, and I don't think we planned on having it
Yeah.
ready, but we were just gonna have questions
Have
anyway.
Yeah.
a draft too.
The comments that, and I'll make a couple public things, the difference between what you presented and what we had last time is basically it was just broken down more inside, it basically was subs of what we already have broken. So really, we're on the same kind of level.
Right.
It's just you broke them down more based on the eligibility requirements of the document. And I
Yeah.
think, you didn't follow it completely, but I think it'd be a good idea to go to that appendix that's in the back of that document and actually use their verbiage.
Yeah.
Because one, it'll match up with reporting.
Yeah.
And two, it'll match up with their guidance as well.
Yeah,
So-
I think that's important because if we don't have some sort of buckets and it's just an open application, I don't know how do you judge applications that way?
Right.
How do you compare one application to the other if you're not judging on the same thing?
Right.
So I just kind of thought we needed to have some sort of,
So you're thinking the rubric.
Structure.
The judging
What do you
rubric.
guys think about the tiers, different tier awarding of money?
I think it can get really messy if you do too much.
Yeah, I
And-
just saw that on the examples
Yeah,
that were.
I think, too many tiers, it gets messy.
I think to tell you the truth, I would, if it was me, I don't know if I would actually have tiers.
Just a range.
Just a range.
A range.
I think,
And the ranges that we have, some of them are relatively, and I know you just threw this out to stick to the wall, okay? So
Yeah.
don't- so
No,
don't
you're
take-
fine.
I know. For instance, and I'll just take an example.
Sure.
We just had one, Cecilia, right? That's her.
Celia.
Celia?
Celia,
I
yeah.
always mess up her name, sorry. She just talked about, a sober house, I think if we went down, and I'm just not saying we're going down that road, I don't want to commit us to anything here, but I'm just making it as an example, hypothetical. if we went down that road and we gave them $150,000, that fit none of our criteria or our tiers. So we gotta.
Yeah.
Right, I think we need to look at the amounts and think about the type of transformational change that we would like to see. And I
Mhm.
think impact-wise, if you do a lot of small amounts, you're kind of limiting, and don't do any big amounts, you're really limiting how that level of transformational change in terms of what you can do with $4,000.
Right.
I
And
would
we're
That's
not
fair.
gonna be able to get every single criteria in either, so I like,
No.
you know, what you said, if you kind of balance that with, if you just make everything all strict in these buckets,
Yeah.
we miss out on
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah, the specificity, I can't say that word.
Specificity.
Thank you. Can't ever say that word, I'll give up on it. If you do that, then sometimes you limit to what you're gonna see, and I think.
That's true.
I felt that way with the buckets that we kind of defined, that were set down. But, not to say that we couldn't add more buckets to make that go away, but I just wanna make sure that we don't do that. And the other one was, there was a couple of them that were very specific as well, that I think we probably just need to kind of put them in one envelope.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I agree. I think after hearing everyone's thoughts in the email chain, I think so too.
And I know you were just throwing something
Oh,
against the wall
yeah,
in
no,
the
totally.
conversation, so
Yeah.
don't take anything.
No, of course not. So a range instead of tiers.
Yeah, I think so.
We just
Yeah.
need to have a
And
max.
pretty broad range too,
Yeah.
you know, just so that we know, because I don't want to miss out on something. To me, I would put the range out there and say, this is the typical range we're looking for this particular bucket.
Mhm.
But if, let's say we had our bucket be $0 to $50,000 and somebody said, well, we need 75. I don't think I'm gonna throw them out, the baby out with the bathwater if
If it's a very impactful.
Yes.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I don't want it to be a.
So we just need to
yes,
know,
no
like,
thing.
exceptions,
Yeah.
you can,
Yeah.
it's like with our ready plan.
Well, and I was thinking about the READY plan too,
Yeah.
which I know is pretty complex, but some of those projects we looked at, including in the READY plan, and it was based on the potential of getting some public funds, which you have to get your match.
Yeah.
And if we cut that out,
Okay.
we lose any match, and I think that we
It's
want to
very-
maximize it.
It's very hard to do something impactful with 50 or 100. I'm just saying, it's a lot of times it's very hard to do something with that range of money sometimes. So I don't want to eliminate the possibility of giving a bigger chunk to something that we know will have a large impact. You know what I'm saying? I think the range idea is great so that they have an idea.
Yeah, we just gotta make sure.
That's starting point.
If you ask for 75, you know that you've got an uphill battle. Because
Right.
our range is 1 to 50, and you're
Yeah.
asking for 70. You have an uphill battle already. It better be good. You better have a good plan. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I think that's,
How are we gonna handle when people people have great ideas? I've heard lots of people with great ideas, but they're not, I guess, in charge of that
Yeah,
specific
that's-
area.
mm.
Yes.
And
yes.
so the example is, the most recent one was Tara's example, which I thought, wow, what a great idea, but
Mhm.
she can't administer that because she doesn't work there. So do we
Right.
contact those organizations? What do we do with those?
Well, we talked about that last time with mental health too, like if you're, there can be great ideas, but if there's no one to own that initiative, or not
Somebody's
a
gotta-
not-for-profit.
But if we get them in,
Yeah, and it's gotta be-
are we gonna go seek ownership, or does the person putting it in have to seek ownership?
Yeah.
I think it's more of a, I don't think that's our responsibility. Our responsibility is to fund things we deem,
I do think that if someone contacts us,
and maybe needs help.
it says, hey, I've got this idea, I am not in that world, but I think this would work. And let's say they name Perry County Memorial Hospital, or they name the health department.
Share with.
I have no problem sharing that with them, saying, can
Yeah.
I share this with, and then going, but beyond that, I think it's a really sticky wick if we start
Yeah.
going down.
It is, it's just
Well,
so
and
many
this
people
is where
have so
you
many
have
good
to
ideas.
almost be set up
Yeah.
to implement and be prepared and not just have ideas, because there are,
Right.
But I think passing that on,
Yeah.
even if it doesn't happen for this round or the next round, but let's say an Okra grant comes up
Right,
later,
right.
at least that idea's out there, it's not
Yeah.
buried. you
Yeah.
know? We can do that service, but to go beyond that, I think we're starting to meddle.
Yeah.
We're starting to be
Yeah.
doing something we shouldn't and still stay true to not having a conflict.
Yeah, okay. I think that's great. So basically, our application is still in the works. We still have some
It
things,
definitely is, yeah.
we still have some things to.
And I think the first thing is defining those buckets. And I think you had the right idea, I think you did the right thing by narrowing them down. But I think
Mhm.
we have to define those before we can really do a
I
lot
think so,
on the
yeah.
application.
We've got to have a little bit more specifics. I gave
Can't
up
say
too.
the word either.
I'm not even trying. So,
Specificity.
yes, I'm not, okay,
Yeah,
whatever.
that word, yeah.
Okay, so we've got some internal discussions to have regarding the application, so just everyone in the public to be aware of that. We're not ready for that yet. And I don't, like we said, we weren't planning on being ready, but we still have some work to do. Just want to keep you updated on that. So we can move on to the next thing, utilization of grant management software. Greg, do you want to speak on this? It's what you,
Yeah, Tara and I both did this separately, and we went to the Perry County Community Foundation and asked them some questions, and I plan on asking United Way the same questions and that kind of stuff. But we're looking for maybe a couple different routes. We could actually buy the software ourselves and do it, which you came up with one.
I was going to schedule a phone call for tomorrow, but I
Oh,
don't think we need to.
I think we still listen just to see what it's got to offer, just to see.
Okay.
If you schedule it, I'll always go to it.
I haven't scheduled it yet,
Okay,
so.
all right. They've been emailing me too, so that's
Okay.
how I go to their website.
Yeah.
But, so we've been looking at that, and then we've been looking at different organizations that possibly could supply with the software. I think for the amount that it's gonna cost, even if we did it on our own, it's well worth doing. One, because it will organize our applications better, it will put all the data in one place, it will be auditable, it has
And that's-
all the things that are important, because
Yes.
dotting our i's and crossing our t's, guys, is important in this one, because if you look at it, the subrecipients, the people that we give the money to, if we give them that money and they have a plan and that plan falls through, they don't do it, we're on the hook for that money, not necessarily them.
Right.
So we need to have a contract that puts some skin in the game for them too, that says, hey, if you don't follow through your plan, you owe us the money or whatever. But you can imagine some scenarios where that wouldn't even work, where it's a 501(c) and they go under. What do we do? There's
You don't
there's
get the
nowhere to
money.
get the money at that point. So we gotta be very careful when it comes to that kind of stuff, dotting our i's, crossing our t's. This kind of software would help us do that and make sure that we can say, we did do those things, and here's the proof that we did those things.
Right.
So I think that's important.
Yeah, that compliance and guidance document is
Thick,
thick.
with a lot of,
And I read something that you had shared, and I don't know if I got the whole thing, with the SAM registration. Now, is that something that we have to have, or that any
See,
sub-recipients have to have?
I wasn't for sure about that, because when I read that it said including SAM registration, I said, that doesn't really
Is
make
that
sense
for
to
the county,
me.
or
No, it
each
doesn't make
person
sense for the
that?
So,
subrecipient.
yeah, so I might check into that, because I was wondering.
I
Yes.
got one for the
But now, okay.
PCLP, and that is extensive.
Yes.
Can I, and whenever I had, in the beginning, I had to give my life away more or less whenever I signed up for this, okay?
Yes.
And I think I remember I had to put in the county's SAM number.
Right.
So maybe that takes
Right.
care
So
of
that's
Yeah.
what I'm wondering.
And you had to have a DUNS.
And I had to do the.
Yeah,
DUNS
because it
number,
wouldn't
too.
make sense for a subrecipient to have, because they're not getting federal dollars
Right.
directly, so
They're-
why would they
it's
have a SAM?
passing
No,
through.
no.
So when I read that, I was like, that's why I stopped highlighting up to that point. 'cause like,
Well,
that
I
doesn't
just
make
thought
sense.
They do
if that
have
is
to-
something they need, then
Right,
like a
that
lot.
takes time,
There is-
for sure.
it's a
I'm
lengthy
pretty sure though,
process.
if I read it right, it said subrecipients, and it basically, the next part of the language was talking about following bid rules for
Yeah, so that's
federal
another,
bid rules.
we have
So
to
that's
re-
something that people may not be familiar with.
yeah, we have to follow uniform administrative guidance, and
Yeah.
that is very, so like, with this software, there's guidelines on $10,000 is the micro purchase limit, it's 250,000 is the threshold. I think we'll be fine, but in the guidance document, it just said the micro threshold. It didn't talk about going up to $250,000 as a way to not have to procure.
Right.
So now I gotta go, because I was kind of confused, because I'm like, we're still under the threshold, 250,000, but that didn't say that in the guidance document.
Right.
It just said the micro threshold, and I said, so like, even if we go and get the software, I don't know if we're gonna have to do an RFP for it or whatever.
Right.
You might just do that just to cover our butts anyway, but I'm gonna have to look more into that one for sure. But yeah, we have a lot of
Yeah.
guidelines to follow.
Yeah.
So what would be the next step after we get the software though? Who uses it? Who puts in the information?
Well, that's,
Well,
let's
we do the
talk,
foundation.
we're hoping, I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but we're hoping that, the organization that we work with also will supply some help in that regard, and also help in administrating that part of it as well. And I think they will, but I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth until we have those conversations, you know, at hand, so.
Yeah.
But that's our hope, is that, but I did say, I'm used to Zoho Recruit and a bunch of these softwares like this, so if that becomes a roadblock, I'll volunteer my time to actually enter in the application and stuff like that, because it's time consuming, but it's not hard, is I guess the best way to put it. So we can get around that for sure. And the software itself, if it's anything like Zoho Recruits, once you put it in there, it does the dotting of the i's and
It's
crossing of the t's for
user-friendly,
you.
isn't it?
So there's not a lot there for someone to do either.
So
That's the beauty of it.
That software company that you were talking about setting up a meeting with,
Mhm.
Survey
Monkey, how expensive is it, do we know?
It's said starting at $7,000 annually.
Yeah, and usually it's like.
That's probably base, like,
Right.
might not have everything we need, so.
A lot of times that means it's, they base it on logins, because usually it's cloud-based services. So cloud-based services, it starts at 7, and that might mean you have 5 logins. And if you want 3 more, it's another 1,000.
I was kind of
Already
wondering.
Significantly more.
When I think I emailed probably, I would suspect for a group our size, where it's probably about a dozen people, you're talking somewhere in the range of $10,000 probably.
So if we can utilize an organization like Perry County Community Foundation, and they do it, you know, for
Yeah.
the amount we talked about, you know, nothing against any company, but I'd rather see those funds go to a local,
Absolutely.
not-for-profit than just some outside
Absolutely.
company.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's,
Because I mean.
The services are going to
Are
be
they
equal.
equal?
or
Yeah, for
close.
sure. That's a great
And they're,
point.
and they're local people too, so you know they have an
They have the
interest.
best interest
They
at
have
heart,
an interest
yes.
at heart. Yeah, and it helps with their overhead, helps us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will help them tremendously. with
that's a
their
great
overhead.
point, Sherry. Good point. And I was wondering, something on SurveyMonkey was, you could get logins for everyone, and everyone could score the application and
Online.
online.
And that's the way all these.
Okay,
The one that we're looking at with, so like the community foundations, there's this called Foundant, Foundant, and VANT, Foundant. But anyway, that software is the same way. It basically,
Okay.
and I've done scholarships on it, that's why I know it. And that's why I started with them. Is that you go in and literally each question, you have a 1 through 10 kind of scoring over here.
Yeah, that's what, I just kind of wanted to talk on scoring as well. I think it needs to be as simple as possible.
Oh, yeah.
Just like
The
1
matrix
through
that we were
5.
talking about last time is as simple as you can get. It's a 1
Yes.
through 10 score, and it basically does the.
And weighted on the
Yeah.
questions.
And everybody
which
could
are
go
the-
in.
We were
and
talking,
do
when we
it
were talking, my mind was turning
Yeah.
and saying we do this in Excel, but the thing is that you can make mistakes and stuff, whereas this software won't have those issues. So
Yeah.
you put the scoring in it, we'll do the weighting and all that kind of stuff for you. So.
Okay. I think.
And it also sends it out, so when, like, it's time for the application has been submitted, and it's now time for us to review, it will send an email to all of us. You click on the button, it takes you to it, to review it, and it will, and then when you get done, it sends an email to all of us that says, hey, this person's done.
Has
And then
reviewed
Keeps
it.
track.
It's
very, very
so
nice.
much better than doing a
Oh.
vote.
Oh.
Because it's,
Oh.
well, you didn't, and no one, yeah, I don't know, we did something like that, but by hand, because it was a smaller scale when we hired our new superintendent. And, you know, the top candidates that came up were not the ones, not necessarily the ones that everyone expected. But
Yeah.
after doing interviews, it was like, yeah, they were the best ones.
But if you have a common scoring that you're
Scoring
all
system.
evaluating against.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely, and that's the key.
Everyone's input
That's
goes
the
in
key.
equally, that's
And you've
why.
done it independently of one another too.
Right.
Right, and I
I
like
can
that. I
influence
like not
you, you
reviewing
can
it
influence
together.
me.
Yeah.
It makes it very nice. And now, I will say at the end, if you've got, like on our survey, when we talked about our survey, it was 4.09, 4.02, 4.05. Me and Sherry said the number's the number, but I will say that at that point, sometimes you do look at it and you go, okay, this one probably is more valid than this one. You can, but they have to be extremely close numbers for you to get
Well,
into that
okay,
box.
So
You
Greg,
see what I'm
think of-
saying?
No, think of that
Yeah.
as if you were doing it in a hiring process, and I use that superintendent example, but it could be anyone. You don't necessarily pick out the highest number and hire them. What you do is you pick out the top 3 and interview
Exactly,
them. So
exactly.
that's basically what
Exactly.
we would be doing, picking out the
Narrow
top so
down.
many and then
Exactly.
reviewing
Okay,
them.
yeah. So what is the next step that needs to be taken to talk to the community, or,
I'll continue down that
Okay.
road. And I won't just stop with them, I'll talk to the other ones too as well.
Okay.
So I'll work my way through those and then
That's
report that
perfect.
back.
Thank you,
That's no
Greg.
problem. I think the other piece that somebody needs to take on, and you've already started it, so maybe you will continue, is the grouping. We need to have that.
yeah, I'll keep working
And-
on that.
And I
put
think we follow the guide that's in the back.
The appendix,
Yeah.
things, okay.
Yeah.
See.
Is that okay?
I just don't know, like,
Oh, yeah.
like one of those just says, like economic support. I don't know, but does that need to be defined more than just that, or?
Well, it took economic support, but then it also broke it down into subcategories.
I just, because I know like the first one's under negative economic impact, it has like household assistance, utilities, household assistance, food, household assistance. I just don't know, do we need to do,
No, I think all these household assistants, we talked about, possibly finding an
And-
agency like.
yeah, like about-
Right?
yeah.
Yeah, and then, the,
Which means we would kind of take those out.
And
are we
use the
doing
ones that
that?
apply to.
yeah.
I think if we do that, we open a huge can of worms, and we have organizations in our county that
Are
take care of
capable
those
of doing
needs.
that.
yeah.
Well, they're doing it, and I feel strongly that I'm not opposed to doing it, but if that's something we want to do, I think we do need to go to the organizations that
Yeah.
already do it and
I
say,
think-
like, how much state and federal money was already allocated to utility
I just think
assistance,
Right.
housing
we
assistance,
start
and
doing
see
individual
where our
people.
community is doing
Yeah.
before just
Yeah, that's
dumping
true.
money into
What it
that.
looked
Yeah, I made a
Right.
comment, I don't know if it was last meeting or the meeting before, but anyway, I made a comment that I think it's not good of us to take this money and give it to an organization and have them disperse it for us. I didn't mean this kind of scenario. I meant like if we just gave them a lump sum of
Like
$2 million.
say, here it is,
Right.
Take it all.
Here's
Here,
$2 million, you figure out what to do.
people
That would be
with it,
bad.
and that's just
Right.
passing
But
on.
giving an X number amount to, I'll just throw out Catholic Charities for an example, because it's just one of the organizations that is out there. You give X dollars to them and having them figure these things out, they're equipped to do that. There's agencies that are equipped to do that.
And-
So we should utilize that.
And we should make it known that those organizations can request money
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
do
that's
that.
one thing I talked with
So to
Tara
me, that goes
about.
under aid to nonprofit organizations, is
Right.
what me, that
It's
falls under that.
utilizing
Right.
like United Way or these organizations that have connections to all the nonprofits to make sure
Yes.
everyone's aware that this money's even out there for them.
Yep, yep.
Which
So that's
is
something
a-
we're gonna have to do, for sure, is like a marketing campaign
Yes.
to make sure that everyone's aware.
Which is another benefit if we do
The
get tied in with
foundation.
United Way or another
Right.
one like that.
Yeah.
They have those contacts to help us with those.
Yeah.
But I think, if you go down through here, a lot of the things that we talked about are hit.
Okay.
Mental health services.
Right.
It's kind of organized.
Okay.
But there are some that, yeah, we won't
We don't wanna-
touch. We won't touch.
Yeah.
Because one, we already said we weren't going to touch them.
Right.
So-
Okay, yeah, I will put together some more things on that.
But like the small business economic assistance, and I know you have.
Yeah, that's,
You have
do we need to be,
e-commerce in there,
do we
but
need
I-
to be any more specific, or do you
No.
think,
No,
just go off
I
that?
don't
Okay.
Go off
think
that.
so.
Okay.
And if they want to do a technology piece, like a website, we've already listed that that's a possibility.
Put it in there,
Yeah.
yeah, with the lump. We're
Yeah.
not a huge community that has that many
Yeah,
e-commerce
e-commerce,
businesses.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, all righty. Any more discussion on software? Greg, so you're gonna keep talking, and I'm
I'll
gonna
keep
keep,
talking,
I'm
man.
gonna keep grouping. Okay, so timeline, do we think our timeline's
I have that.
If we were
gonna
to
be
do that
affected?
again,
I'm kinda thinking it might be pushed back a little bit.
Applications done on 11/4, there is no way.
Yeah,
Distributed on 11/18, there is absolutely no way.
Not afraid.
I think.
Right.
I think after
right,
that.
and that's kind of,
I think after that, we basically had a 2-month, or a month and a half window for turning them in. I think that's doable.
And
I
I
think
think
the
we
other
looked at
things
the
are due-
holidays, which that might be able,
yeah, it was holiday.
depending
That's-
on when it's released now, we wouldn't necessarily have to leave it open as long, but I
Yeah.
think we were
But
trying to not mess
But
with.
even if you hit tax time,
Yeah,
beginning of
that's
the year,
true.
so, but I think all these other distances are doable, but that first one, that's.
okay, that's
a
kinda what I
pipe
was,
dream.
that's kinda what I was thinking.
That's a
Start
pipe
later,
Let's
but
make-
not necessarily
Let's
close.
revise those.
Yeah, so application done, in other words, we have it in we have our part of it done, it's not entered
It's
into the
not,
system.
right.
But we have it on paper what we wanna do.
Okay,
What is a real realistic date there?
2 weeks from now?
2
Or is
weeks
that
from
not
now?
realistic?
I don't know.
Greg, I feel like that,
That's the
you're
thing.
having the conversations with people figuring that part out. If you're kind
Yeah.
of, it's kind of up to you guys and how you feel.
We gotta have grouping first.
Yeah.
So I gotta have,
Yeah, that's right. So maybe it needs to be longer, I think.
But, yeah, I guess this is just for us internally, because it won't really matter to the public. So, I mean, we just need to have a goal to get it
drive
done on
us.
our end.
We have to have
Yeah,
something to
that's
drive
true.
us.
Let's see, marching band is over. The first week of November, actually. So, what about like the week of the 14th, November 14th? That's a Sunday, so maybe sometime that week.
That's really 2 weeks.
I guess it is only 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. What about the next week's Thanksgiving? We can email each other that week. So why don't we just try the week of Thanksgiving to internally have?
They don't need to cancel on the 18th.
Yeah, let's say the 18th, we're gonna meet anyway, right?
Okay. So we can have draft application by the
Be
18th.
ready
Draft
to-
application.
And hopefully
18th.
approve, maybe.
Yeah.
Hopefully, yeah.
And distribution?
2 weeks after? Oh, no,
I think
So,
if we-
yeah.
Thanksgiving's in there, so no.
Well, what, we're reviewing it, making sure it's good, no more changes, and then maybe we'd be ready the next week to.
Because, I mean, we need to give it to, if we go through with this software, we have the application done, we need to give it to the people to,
And that's a draft on the 18th. What's the chances of this group that likes to look at things in depth?
I think we might make
actually
changes.
approving it on the 18th?
that's
So
right.
That's true.
Not happening.
The week after Thanksgiving,
Okay.
and then a couple weeks to put it in?
So what date would that be?
So draft by the 18th.
Yeah.
Application finalized the week after Thanksgiving. Do you want to do that Thursday, like December 2nd?
Yes.
Just keep it on that Thursday.
Okay.
So we'll have the application finalized by December 2nd. From there, it goes to our potential grant management software.
I suggest we make it a Christmas gift of 11/23.
12.
12/23, sorry.
Okay, so
I think your tiredness is with this way.
Yeah.
12/23, Christmas. But, and the only reason I say that is because I would want to be done with it by then. I would want it out my,
Hanging over your head over the
yeah, I
holidays.
don't want it on the holidays hanging over my head. And that gives us, what, 2.5 weeks to put it in? So surely.
Oh, yeah.
So you're saying that's
actually 3
grant
weeks.
software inputting, more or
But it's
less?
finalized the second.
Have it
12.
input
Because you
no
know,
later
even if we
than
put
the
it in on the
23rd.
23rd, there's nobody that's probably gonna work on it until after the holidays anyway, I would think. I mean, that's just,
If I can just throw this out, you're heading into winter,
yeah.
so there are some folks that might be more directly affected by that than others based upon the season in which we're heading into.
Yeah.
And for some, it may be more of an urgent thing.
Gotcha, yeah.
I mean, to that point, if we, I mean, we could start, so say, when would we open the application?
That would be the 23rd.
So, I mean, do we have to wait to get them all, or do you want to take things on a rolling basis, or do you want to say, we're going to collect them into then, and then we judge?
Well, let's get the data when we release
Okay,
it first.
all right.
I see where you're going,
We
though.
should release it before the 23rd. If it's finalized the second, do we really need 3 weeks to release it?
Well, you gotta remember, we'll input it. You'll all take a turn at looking at the application and making sure it's right.
Okay.
And then we'll release it to the public. So you're talking about a cycle there. Because we don't want to input it in the system and find that it's wrong once we released it. You know what I'm saying?
Tara's saying it's putting the final draft too far out sooner rather than, I think we need to get it out sooner rather than later. I mean, could we bump that, if, we just might have to do more work on our end
But
and get it out
even
sooner.
then, I mean, we weren't even last time, we weren't looking at making any decisions until January 30th, right?
I don't have the old timeline in front of me.
The plan completed 3/7. It was actually March 7th is when we were actually have all the decisions made.
Where we were gonna close the application January 30th and then have to
Yep.
review it.
That is correct.
She's saying, Tara kind of said judge as we get them too, so take them on a rolling basis.
I'm not I think the rolling basis might work, but I do think we want to,
We can.
If we
Put
do,
in the time
if we
to-
do them on a rolling basis, we can take more time to
We can.
put it in the system and.
We can here's the only problem I have with judge as, we can't, and we can do that. But I'm gonna equate it to, Greg's gonna know what I'm talking about, I'm gonna equate it to grading term papers. I never grade them till I get them all. My mood affects how harshly I grade things, and I need to treat all my
Do it
students
all at one
equally.
time and
We need
have-
to treat all of our applicants equally, and if you're doing it in basically the same time frame, you're more likely to keep in your mind, well, I judged this one a point lower because of blah, blah, blah. If you do it 2 months later, you've forgotten that you did that.
Yeah. It's very difficult, I will say that.
well, and
When I
even
do
if we did it
scholarships,
on a rolling basis, I mean, then would you be allocating money on a rolling basis?
No.
I wouldn't wanna
Like,
do
how
that.
would you do that? How would you
No.
judge?
I can tell you right now, until we have a solid plan of like, this is what we're doing, I don't think we'll be able to get it even passed, to tell you the truth. But, I mean, and to me, I think a rolling basis is, I think that's a bad idea, if we want to judge them, maybe. I might be persuaded to do judging them on a rolling basis, but to grant on a rolling basis, I don't think we can do that.
I don't like the judging either.
I don't either.
I mean, if you're not gonna grant on a rolling
I think
basis, I
different
don't
things
know
are
Then
what
what's-
the benefit of judging on a rolling basis is.
I mean, could we,
Yeah.
so. Yeah. So the application live, can we shorten that time to,
We need to.
between launching the application? And when it, I mean, can we just,
Yeah, the 18th.
Instead of
and
till
then
the
December
23rd.
2nd, so let's move that December 2nd date back.
Yes. Because we have a draft, let's give ourselves a week, 11th, basically, what's Thanksgiving, the 25th?
yes, yes.
It's in that week, yes.
Yeah,
So what's the Monday after that?
11/29.
Let's do that one.
Let's do 11/29.
That's the Monday of the Thursday.
What's
the week.
3 weeks after 11/29?
The 20th of
Is
December.
your 29th meeting going to be in the evening?
I have no idea about the meetings. I mean,
Because that's that mental health. town hall.
yeah, I don't know if we'll actually need to meet.
I think that we keep it this way, but I would love that when we have that draft on the 18th, just to approve it. Just be ready to approve it.
So you should approve it, and then it just
Come
needs
with
to
your
get
homework done.
uploaded into the system, whatever system it is, and then we'd be ready to launch it.
Because then you're talking about launching it like the 1st of December, 2nd of December.
But I think that to the point of like, we want to, the people that need the money faster, we talked about that last time, but the problem was the holidays. And-
Right.
And trying not, for like small businesses and their busy season.
So let's say we do everything we can and we get it done. Let's just do devil's advocate here and say we do everything we can to get it done, and we get it out there on 12/2. Okay, so we come with all our homework done on the 18th. Everybody's hunky-dory. Maybe we have a work session or something where one of us commissioners keeps the hell out of it. And just, and then basically we're ready to approve it on the 18th, okay?
Okay,
We release it on the 12/2.
okay.
You're in the middle of Christmas. You gonna have them be done by January 1?
Well, 12/2's not the middle of Christmas.
Well, I think the
When does
problem, we
Christmas
could get that
end?
in. I just think the
Just
problem
asking.
is the lag time, like if you're gonna leave it open for 3 to 4 weeks,
Yeah.
then you're gonna end it for businesses right around the first of the year, which we talked about it being a difficult time frame, and then we still have to,
Could we move it? So originally we're gonna close on the 31st of January, right? We're gonna close applications on the 31st of January?
That's correct.
I mean, could we move that up?
To like the 10th?
So,
That's 3 weeks early.
that's the second week of January. Maybe that Friday, instead of doing it on a Monday, give them that full week. So like January 14th,
Okay.
just so we don't do it on a Monday, so. I don't know, what are your thoughts on that? Just because if there are businesses who are swamps, having it on a Monday might not be the best. So might as well give them the 4 extra days.
Can I ask, and I'm sorry to go back to scratch, so just smack me if I make this too hard, okay? The reason why a lot of times the reason why Christmas is hard, especially even if you start December 2nd, is because it's selling season. So it's really the small bit, when I say it's the middle of Christmas, I'm talking,
Christmas
it's the middle of
buying.
Christmas for a
Buying.
store.
Right.
For his nonprofit, right? December 2nd is probably a busy time, but it's not a killer. You probably have more time there than a store does selling a bunch of stuff, but you know what I'm saying? That's what
Yeah.
I'm. So
You're
could
right.
we carve out a small business dollar amount and just say, those are due January 4th, but
Well, only
nonprofits are
other
done
thing,
earlier?
but think about, and I devil's
Just
advocate
asking,
here,
Just asking.
Catholic Charities, United Way. Everybody's in the middle of their
That's
Christmas
true.
Angel store, food basket, like everybody has what
True,
they're
true.
trying to do their mission in that time.
I was just trying. I was just thinking.
But
We'd probably have to do one for a different application date for every type of group, and that, we might as well just end up stay with one.
Yeah, I was,
No, I think it's-
sorry, I
it
went
was-
down the rabbit
no, it
hole,
was a
but I
good
just
question.
wanted to ask, so.
So let's stick with middle of January or
So
something. I think we have to.
January
the
14th.
second Friday of
Yeah.
January, January
Any
14th,
faster.
Yep,
What did we have previously?
the 31st was a Monday.
31st was turned in, that's what we had previously.
Do we want to go back to that? I mean,
I'll be
How
honest-
long is it open if we were to do December 2nd to mid-January? I mean, that's a
That's a
about
long
6
time,
weeks.
6 weeks.
that's a long time.
That
I
is
mean,
6
that
weeks.
is a long time. That's a long time. Let's do this, yeah, the 14th is,
Plenty.
yeah, that's a long
That's
time.
plenty. Even with Christmas in the middle of it, that's
Yeah,
plenty.
it is.
And inventory and all that stuff in the middle of it, still, that's plenty.
Well, and the hope is that we don't make it extremely difficult, especially
Exactly,
for a small
exactly.
business that they're.
And so, if this,
And I would say that this isn't a
no, go
this
ahead.
isn't a finalized date. If we do the applications drafts on the 18th and we go, this looks like it's probably a 3-hour type of project for, then yeah, let's cut the
Right.
time, right?
Right.
If we look at the application, we go, no, they're gonna need the 6 weeks, we leave it at 6 weeks. So we'll know more on the 18th.
As we
okay?
get it input and
Yeah.
to
Yeah, so let's not.
do a test of
Would
filling
not
it out
rabbit hole
ourselves.
Too soon might
Yeah.
hurt us,
Right.
right?
And then, but with the software, I mean, judging should be pretty simple. So, I mean, are we gonna need, what was our original,
So I will tell you, and I'll do it based off scholarships, and you've done scholarships too, so this way, so you, right, you've done for the, have you?
Mhm,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay. We'll probably have 45 candidates or whatever, and it will take me a good solid 2 days to do that, and that's
Absolutely.
not a complicated application.
Right.
I've done them for the United Way, and when you
So-
look it up, when you read every application,
So if you're talking about 16 hours for 45, imagine how many we're gonna get and multiply it. You don't wanna.
how many, did we leave 2 months for decisions, or?
We went from 4 weeks. We went 1 month.
Oh, okay.
but we wouldn't have, I
So
say, let's see
2
how
for-
many we get. We could have a idea, but we don't have to set ourselves to that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We could award money or make decisions as soon as 2 weeks after, but take up to.
I think we probably went down the rabbit hole as far as we should in this.
That doesn't have
The
to
reason for a
determine that,
timeline is
right?
to force us to keep moving forward, right? And we definitely have that. 11/18 is a heck of a move forward. 11/29 again, right? 12/2 distribution.
We don't know if we're getting 500 applications or 5 applications, and that makes a
Exactly.
huge difference.
That's what I'm saying. If we get turned in, if we come in here on January 14th and we have 30 applications, I'm gonna look at you and go, we're meeting next week, get your
Let's
your
it
pencils
done.
out.
Yeah.
So I mean,
But if we end up with 300, then I might go, okay, we need the time, you know? I mean, that's, so let's not go too much farther than what we have, I would say. But again, that's roughly January. We're still coming up with a time frame of January that we're gonna get money out.
so
Yeah.
Tara
I
said,
don't think there's any way around it.
Well,
I think we could at least start placing the applications in their respective programs
Oh,
to get an
yeah.
idea of what.
I think we're gonna have that when they
I was,
apply.
I was kind of wondering if they
Yeah,
had.
the first screen they're at is which one are you applying for?
Okay, so that will take care of that, okay. And then she said Giving Tuesday is November 30th. It's the busiest time for nonprofits. So,
November 30th.
yeah.
We're missing that though, right?
Well, I think that she was just that we don't want to.
Yeah, we're
It's
we're
busy for
staying away from
everybody.
that. Yeah.
November, December, it's a rough.
So we think the earliest we could potentially start awarding money.
March.
Okay.
March 7th is the first commissioner meeting, so I would say that would be,
Oh, yeah, because we still have to,
and you still have to appropriate it.
right.
Well, the commissioners have to.
Sorry, we have to appropriate it.
No,
That's-
you have to
You put it in your
approve
plan.
We have to approve it, and then you have, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of where I was getting ready to ask about how you guys are looking at the money situation for timeline, because November the 8th, I have to have the additional turned in, and then the council would have to have a
Here's
special
my question.
meeting
Like-
if you've done anything this year.
Let's just do a lump
And
sum.
you guys
appro-
haven't even approved it
We could
yet.
just do a lump sum appropriation, and if they don't have to, couldn't we just do that? And, I mean, we don't have to do an
Without a
appropriate.
plan?
No, we do, you have to do the plan. I'm just saying, we know we're expecting $1 million worth of applications, so could we just appropriate $1 million and then we could disperse it as we need
According to like that one additional was that if we make it kind of general, like maybe you put in
Right, so
so
we're gonna
much
have $1 million,
toward-
we're appropriating $1 million
Like if
for
you're breaking it
grant
down so much
programs.
to here, so much to there, we could just do a general.
Well, I wouldn't even go that far. We have these sets of buckets, and it's gonna be $1 million, and be done with it. I mean,
We
I
could
would
probably
just-
do
I would
So,
something.
just
and
do-
we could do that as soon as you approve it. I mean, you don't have to wait to even do the plan.
Yeah.
If we're ready to launch the application in December, the commissioners could put it in their plan, and we could appropriate the money already way ahead of time,
And if
so
we-
then.
And if we don't spend the whole million, it just rolls back in, right? So there's no.
I think it'll be spent easily.
I know, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
So, I mean, are you kind of
The
looking
question will
at
be
to
asked.
incorporate possibly
Yeah.
in January?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay, I mean, I'm just trying to watch
Yeah.
for my timelines, because November's coming, so November the 8th, I'd have to meet to get it into the November meeting. And generally, I've only got like to the middle of December that the state will even take any additionals.
Right.
So then you'd have to have a special meeting early in December for me then to get it approved, to get it up to state.
Yeah, so we don't have to worry about appropriating money until
Okay,
the new
okay,
year,
then
but.
we're good for this year. That's
But
what
the
I want to make
commissioner,
sure.
I mean, you
because
all
I've
could
got
go ahead and put a
close on
plan, that
deadlines.
first part of your plan together anytime.
Yeah, I mean, it could be very generic, to tell
Right.
the truth.
Yeah, just-
I think we wait for your buckets
Okay.
and our applications to be done, just to make sure that we're solid, and then we do it, yeah.
Okay.
We can have Chris draft something real quick. Oh, boy. That's the other thing too, that we need to start getting Chris involved, because
Oh,
of the
yeah.
sub-recipient
Sub-recipients
contracts.
and sub-awards to,
Yeah.
yeah. Tara said, what if we review on a rolling basis those that may not qualify and at least make those determinations to save time for later? Some may be incomplete.
We could do the yes/no sections of the matrix, yeah, that
Okay.
would be fine.
Oh, that's,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
So, okay.
The yes/no section
Yes,
would be
no.
easy.
Yes, Tara, we hear you. Okay.
Good idea, Tara.
All right. So.
Your voice has changed, Tara.
All right, so that's that timeline. Anything else from us? Anyone from the public wants to speak for an extended, come up to speak a little bit?
I just have a couple questions.
Sure.
You were talking about, like, all the great ideas, but whose responsibility is it to put a plan together? So, like, you know, just one of them, because I brought this up, was the rapid testing. Should I move forward with contacting the two companies that I know who could do that and get the proposal and get that, I mean, whose job is that? I don't know.
See,
Or-
that
or
one's
do you
kind
wanna
of-
wait if you get a grant writer and see if they can find money, or, you know, I hate to use this money
Right.
when I know there's grants out there, we're just not getting them.
I would just
So
say,
who does
like that
that?
example specifically is kind of tricky because you think that's more of a
Health department.
health department commissioner kind of thing that, hey, the county is gonna, but for us to say that, I don't know if that's really our place. So that's a tricky example.
I tried that.
Yeah.
So it didn't work.
Yeah.
See, and another
I went to the health board and it didn't work.
Kelly, another health idea that someone came up with was setting up some times where people could come and get some free health screening because people have had things canceled. For example, during it, they couldn't get their mammograms or their colonoscopy and all those things, that if we had money to do that, just people can't wait 2 and 3 years sometimes because then it's too late. But it's kind of the same kind of thing. You would need someone from the medical field to.
And I think something like, and again, smack me on the head if this is wrong, but I think something like that is outside of these buckets too, to tell you the truth a little bit. I mean, when it comes to the rapid testing, that kind of stuff too. Do you think, is that something that we would go through the application process, or is that something that?
That's something I'm like, that's not a competitive thing. That's something we
No.
could just set money aside and say, hey, we're gonna supply rapid testing. That's not a
Right.
competitive grant thing. That's just us saying, we're gonna set money aside for that on its own.
I'm just
Yeah,
asking.
I wouldn't put
'Cause
rapid
that's kind
testing.
of a county thing.
Yeah, that's
It
what I was
really
trying to
is.
say. That's
Kind of
more-
a health department thing.
We
to tell you the
wouldn't,
truth.
we wouldn't make that a competitive thing. That would just be us setting aside money for that specific purpose. Now, like the health screening thing, I don't know.
But we can't set aside money for that purpose if the health department's not willing to do it, right?
Agreed.
I mean,
but
they
I-
have
Yeah.
to be
but I
willing to
can
do
con-
it.
I can contact them and see if they're.
We have to have some sort of, we have to have someone leading the charge that is knowledgeable.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a
I
couple.
mean, I contacted Liberty Lab, they
Yep.
gave me their business development director's number, I think she told me to call him tomorrow, they
Yep.
would be interested in doing it. There's Blue Ridge Group who does it for an outside company who does it for Du Bois County,
Yep.
I mean, I know people who do it.
There-
It's
There's
just-
Gravity right here in this town too, but they don't do it all the time. They
Well,
wouldn't be.
they're funded by the state,
Yeah.
which I don't know why they're not doing it anyway.
Right, yeah.
So, but, it's just like beating my head against the wall,
Yeah.
I can't get anywhere, so if somebody else, if you guys can, that'd be great.
Tara said we can do like public health campaigns and that sort of thing.
Yeah. That's
To raise
what I'm-
awareness
Yeah,
of-
that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Because in my mind, that's really a big part of what this money's for, to help with
Oh, yes.
co-communication and
Yeah.
testing. and-
Yeah.
Right,
So,
Yep.
I
right.
think I just don't know how to make it happen, or what, if I had to fill out an application, or.
And it's like we talked about before, it's hard for us to get too involved in some of these things because then we become biased to them. But this one to me is outside the application
I
process.
agree 100%, yeah.
Because that falls more into the public health realm.
Right, and that's
And
not a
we,
competitive.
I think we could be a little bit more involved in that one, to tell you the truth, so. Why don't we get together and discuss it, and then I'd like to get with maybe Herdwick and some other people too, and see what we can come up with. Surely someone is willing,
He's on the health board, and I've emailed that.
but we'll have a conversation, so.
I would be glad to speak.
Sure.
In regards to homelessness, which is the reason that I'm
Mhm.
here. Would you like?
Yeah, sure.
should I-
Yeah. If you don't mind.
Turn the whole thing.
Good evening, folks.
Good evening.
My name is Dan Hopkins. I'm a pastor in the Tell City area. I've been here for about 8.5 years now. About 6 years ago, myself and another concerned person began considering options to look for a way to solve the homelessness issue in our community. And many people may not recognize the fact there is a homeless issue in our community because it's not as obvious as some might see. We have a lot of couch surfers in our community. You know what a couch surfer is. They have no place else to go. So they're on someone's couch until they're not, right? And obviously, because of COVID, that situation is going to be more challenging. People have lost their jobs. There's many opportunities to work and pay their bills and various issues that go along with COVID in regards to, habits that aren't helpful, that cause them to be kicked out of their homes or their apartments and that sort of thing. As a pastor, I often get calls based upon needs that people have, and one of the big needs that we have are people needing a place to stay. That issue has become even more relevant in regards to the female population in our community. Over the past 2 years, I've gotten more calls based upon women and often their children that don't have a place to go as well. And that really has changed over the course of the last few years. And so 6 years ago, myself and another person began looking into some options to consider. Probably 10 to 15 years ago, there was a ministry in town called Harvest House. Are you familiar with that at all? And I think someone's best intentions led to a situation that became a bit of an eyesore in our community. People with great need were kind of standing outside and becoming a concern to people around them. I know that because of that, some of the police and the sheriff's department became concerned that if we were to do something in our community, it would look like that. And so as we looked for options, we tried very hard not to mirror that way of doing it. We were trying to really be a Band-Aid for those who had no place to go, especially during the coldest nights of the year, because a lot of times, they can manage during the summer out, down in the near the river and that sort of thing. But when it gets to be 10 degrees outside, that's a whole nother issue, and you're fighting for your life. And so we began something called the Perry County Winter Shelter 4 years ago, and it was modeled after ministry in Bloomington, Indiana, that got churches to work together over the coldest months of the year to once a week provide a part of their church for those who had that kind of need. And so we did that the first year and got a number of churches to participate, and it was really kind of a cool thing. And I was on the board of directors at that time for the Perry County Winter Shelter. The following year, I was asked to become the director of the Perry County Winter Shelter, which means I had to step off of the board to become the director. But at that point, I didn't have the influence of being a board member. Does that make sense? So I wasn't able to make some of those decisions, only could represent my feelings towards that. At that point, COVID this was 3 years ago. It hadn't hit yet, and so we were trying to get churches involved, but less churches were reluctant to do that for lots of reasons. Some had damage to their facilities. Some just wanted to drive folks who are homeless to Owensboro or Evansville. Which is great because those are facilities that really are long-term places where you can get on your feet, learn a lot of things that are important to develop maybe ways to get a job, life skills and that sort of thing. My experience was, though, that most of the people that were homeless in our community were here for a reason. They had family here. They had perhaps jobs here. They were familiar with the community and the people and were reluctant to remove themselves from this community and move somewhere else just because this is where they felt comfortable, even though they didn't have a place to stay. And then COVID hit. And so we were trying to utilize the churches. Some were not as willing to participate as others were. But we were given a really wonderful gift by an agency of about $20,000 in which to look for ways to use those funds to help those who are less fortunate. And so we had some ability to do some things beyond just using churches. Right, which is what we felt like we needed to do. Look for a place that could really be a headquarters that people could come and we could help them. What happened was that when COVID hit, it became a real issue making this work. There were no churches that were comfortable just because of the safety precautions and that sort of thing. A lot of churches weren't having even church at all, and the people that were there they were comfortable with. But when you have people who you don't know their backgrounds and all the various challenges that go along with it, it became a whole nother level of safety precaution. And so last winter, we weren't able to provide anything at all. And so, we were stuck with people calling us, but really had no place to put them. Basically, at that point, what happened was in the spring of this year, because they didn't feel like they had a good solution, the board came together asked my opinion. I told them, is there still a need? There absolutely is. We don't need to shut this down. We need to still think about ways that we can help those who are fortunate once some of the safety challenges lift, and we can consider how to maybe be a blessing. They chose to give it all away. They gave a lot of money, a lot of things that we had collected over the course of time to a place in Owensboro. And so we were left, those of us who still cared about this, with pretty much nothing, starting from square one again, which was a sad state of affairs for me, because I'd worked so hard to raise funds and to collect things that would help us once we were to find an actual building or place to put people that we could feel like we could call our own and weren't left up to other people's discretion on how to, take care of things. And so the reason why I'm here tonight is that the need is still there. And because of COVID, it has caused the powers that be to simply say, we don't have even what we had before. And so I am looking for ways to consider a way that we can be helpful, especially during the coldest nights of the year, to those who have no place to go, that really don't want to relocate to another area because of family, jobs, relationships, whatever the case may be. And so I feel like that we have options that we might want to consider, but without any sort of funding to do it, it makes it really hard on our part to take the next steps. So basically, when you're talking about crisis, you're looking at a couple of different things. One, the crisis is they have no home. They have no place to go. Because of COVID, it became a whole nother issue just because we don't have the funds we used to have. There's still an issue. There are even more people who are homeless because of that. And so we're thinking about ways that we can be helpful in the process. So I don't know how clearly I have communicated that. Do you have any questions for me?
No, I think that would be a wonderful application.
Thank you.
I mean,
And as you know, Sister Shelley of Catholic Charities is on board with this. Joan Hess was greatly on board with this, but she retired. She came off the board. She was against the idea of giving it all away too, but she was outvoted. But Sister Shelley, who now has taken her place, is very much involved in this process. Jenny, if you know who Jenny is.
I talked to them. They came in the first. I talked to them privately in the back.
Okay, yeah. So you're a little bit aware of what we're thinking and where we're coming from. I think a lot of things still have to be ironed out, but we still have models. There's a model in Bedford for Women and Children's Center that the town is helpful with, so it's not a huge payment each month that they're making, but they're working in ways so that they can be sustainable for the long term.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was, sorry to interrupt, but that's,
Yeah, sure.
They were talking about it, and I was like, they had the ideas, but there wasn't exactly a plan yet.
Yeah, so the plan is going to have a lot to do with, what we have to use. But I think the question is, how can we do something sustainable,
Right.
But that still isn't going to be uncomfortable, and the police aren't getting calls
Right.
24 hours a day, and people aren't going to feel threatened, and that sort of thing. And so I think there's a way to do that so that everybody can feel good about it, and yet still have Tell City be a place. And the truth is, that Perry County, there's need here. This isn't a rich town. And because of that, there's a lot of people that are just making day by day a way to survive until they can get back on their feet. Our church, actually, our mission team at First Baptist, where I pastor, has put together an emergency fund to put people up for 2 nights. If I can feel like that there's a plan for them to get back on their feet, right? Because 2 nights isn't going to do much if 2 nights now you're going to be back in the same spot. And so I get your perspective. You want a plan. I want a plan, because I don't want to be in the same situation I was put in this year, because if it's not sustainable, then I feel like we're wasting our money, And so I want to be, very thoughtful about the process of that. but feel like because, I'm confident of the need, and I'm reminded of that about every other day, of a way to make that work so that for those who are less fortunate and aren't blessed, with the blessings that you and I have in abundance, we take so many things for granted. I tend to be a pastor that thinks on the practical level. You know what I mean? If we're not helping people in a way that they can feel and recognize that there's actually help being given, then I can say all that I want about what God says and the Bible says, but how are we helping people in practical ways? And this is one of those things. We have food and clothing opportunities for people in our community, but there's no place to put them. And so that's why I'm here tonight, because I've seen it firsthand, and I recognize that it's still a challenge that we need to try to do something about. Any questions for me?
I appreciate your time.
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate that. God bless you.
Thanks, Dan. Anyone else want to speak? Alrighty. Does anyone have anything else up here? Okay. Well, thanks everyone for your time tonight. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Got a motion by Aaron. Second by Sherry. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for listening.
That's what we're here for.